This is Inside the FLX from FingerLakes1.com. I'm Ted Baker. Good morning. And another old friend from my previous life, Chris Lajewski's here with the Montezuma Audubon Center, Route 89, just up the road in Savannah. Good morning.
Good morning, Ted. Great to be with you.
Welcome to winter. What's the official time that we go into winter today? Do we know?
We don't know, but it's today. I do know that.
We do. Before we get into sightings and programs coming up, I wanted to ask you about the eye disease that struck some feeder birds in the Northeast, not so much here in New York. Right. Is it gone, and what did we learn about it?
We learned that this eye disease and neurological condition that inflicted some songbirds in the Mid-Atlantic states and over into the Midwest states didn't officially come here to New York, and that's a very good thing. However, we did take precautions. We did ask our Audubon members to take down bird feeders during that spring and summer season so that we weren't spreading this disease, if in fact the eye disease was here. We have given the all clear. It is okay for people to put up bird feeders again, so feel free to get thistle feeders and black oil sunflower seeders up once again. However, we do recommend that folks clean their feeders with a 10% bleach solution every week, just to ensure that if this disease is still in our communities, it doesn't inflict birds and cause harm to birds, kill birds. Plus, there could be other diseases that are out there. So it's just proper etiquette for bird feeding to clean your feeders on a regular basis.
And I know I'm not very good at that. What about the seed that accumulates on the ground below? Should we rake up all those hulls from time to time and get rid of them? Can that be a problem?
It could be, but during this winter season with the cold spell, and there's so many birds now at our feeders. I know at the Montezuma Audubon Center, we have a lot of feeders up, but the seed that is on the ground rapidly gets eaten by a great variety of birds that we have. So if you want to clean up the seed on the ground, that would be appropriate.
A couple of years ago, I took a tour, one of your van tours through the wetlands area around Savannah, and saw for the first time ever some Sandhill Cranes. I think there were 3 of them that day. I was absolutely thrilled. A lot more than 3 these days.
A record number of Sandhill Cranes are at the Montezuma Wetlands Complex and continue to be. It's an amazing sight. Earlier this month, I believe it was December 4th, 354 Sandhill Cranes were spotted at the Knox Marcellus Marsh, part of the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge. And just an incredible number. That broke last year's record, which was 255. So what we think is happening here is the range of the Sandhill Crane is expanding here into the east. We now have breeding Sandhill Cranes at the Montezuma Wetlands Complex and in a few other areas in New York State. Also, the birds that go even further north into the Great Plains of the U.S. and Canada, and some go as far north as the Arctic tundra and over into the Hudson Bay region, that population is growing as well. And so all of those birds are migrating south, and they find a suitable habitat during fall migration where there's an abundant amount of food, natural vegetation, native vegetation in marshes and grasslands, but also the agricultural areas that we have across the Finger Lakes region, the cornfields and the soybean fields. They provide food for these migratory Sandhill Cranes as well. So in fact, we still have about 200 Sandhill Cranes at the Montezuma Wetlands Complex right now. I found about 175 of them yesterday. So great time to be out around Montezuma, great conditions out there, not too cold, no snow on the ground, the sun is shining. And there's a lot of birds to see.
I know we get millions of them in the Platte River Valley of Nebraska. Are some of these Nebraska birds that break off and say, hey, we like it here?
Those are probably birds that just stay in that central flyway. And so now we have this expanding Atlantic flyway population, this population that's in eastern Quebec, eastern Ontario, and the Hudson Bay region. And they're the ones that fly along the Atlantic seaboard, or the eastern U.S. states, on their way down to Florida to spend the winter.
We're blessed with both habitat and geography in this area for the number of birds that we can see. Tell us about the Christmas bird count that's held each year and what you found this year.
It was yesterday, And we had over 30 staff and volunteers at Montezuma Wetlands Complex fan out all over the 50,000 acres at Montezuma for a day of birding. We put folks in small pods and they birded together in a safe manner. And we found a great number of birds, both species as well as individual birds. We found 77 species total, which is just above our average. We usually average somewhere in the low to mid 70s, so just slightly above average. And we found 39,000 individual birds during the day. So this is a very important community science bird survey that's conducted all across the Western Hemisphere. Our 30 or so volunteers and staff were just some of the tens of thousands of bird watchers that are going to be counting birds during this Christmas season. This is very valuable data. It guides not only Audubon scientists' conservation work, but also agency biologists. Helps us understand where birds are, their population size and dynamics, and helps guide conservation work all across the Western Hemisphere. So, fun day of birding, yes, and very valuable science data was collected yesterday.
And when you talk about the citizen science, this is something that we can all do every day. I did this a couple of years ago. Tell us about the Merlin App.
Well, the Merlin App is part of the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and it's eBird is another type of app that folks can use to document bird sightings in their yards, in their communities, or places like the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. But Merlin is a great app for new birders in particular to help them identify.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Merlin's the identifier.
Yeah,
I was talking
Merlin's
about the eBird for tracking.
Oh, yes.
Right.
They work together hand in hand, both through Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So Merlin is a great app. It asks you a few simple questions, and it'll even now identify bird songs for you. So if you can record a bird call or song out in the field, it will identify that song for you, which is a great new feature of the Merlin app. So Christmas bird counts going on now all across the Finger Lakes region. From now right on through January 5th, folks can go to the National Audubon Society Christmas Bird Count website, search for their community, their zip code, and they'll get all the Christmas bird counts that are available to them.
We don't have a lot of snow on the ground yet, but we might very well by the first of the year. You've got some snowshoe expeditions coming up.
And this is in partnership with Canal Corporation here in New York State. So this is a partnership that's been going on through Montezuma Audubon Center now since the summer season. We started off in partnership with Canals doing free kayaking excursions on the Erie Canal down at Mays Point. Those were so popular they all sold out. And Canal Corporation was so impressed with that excursion that we led then these fall guided walks at Montezuma Audubon Center, introducing people to the fall migratory birds at Montezuma, and explained how the Montezuma Wetlands Complex is managed for these birds of the wildlife as well. So now we're taking it to a third level and doing these free snowshoeing excursions at Montezuma Audubon Center. They're going to be starting on January 8th and going right on through the month of February. So February 26th is going to be our last excursion. We're going to offer 2 free snowshoes each day, 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And these are free every Saturday through the months of January and February. Great opportunities for people to get out, enjoy the winter wonderland, help us track mammals through the snow, enjoy the winter songbirds that we still have, and the waterfowl and birds of prey as well. And we will provide snowshoes for all of our guests. Folks don't need to bring their own. So great opportunities to explore with family and friends this winter.
Speaking of birds and snow, I don't think I've ever seen a snowy owl. Where can I go to maybe spot a snowy owl one of these days?
You don't have to go too far, Ted. Just down the road here.
Is it at the airport?
414 at the airport. 2 snowy owls were spotted by one of our Christmas bird count watchers yesterday.
Wow.
And so this is now the 8th year that we've had snowy owls here at the Finger Lakes Regional Airport and in the nearby agricultural fields. We think what's going on here is that this is just another rebound year after the first major eruption, which occurred back in 2013. So every year now we're getting these immature, juvenile snowy owls coming down here, and they love the openness of the Finger Lakes region. So airports are great places to find them. And then, of course, the agricultural fields, which provide them with a food source, not the waste grain, but the small mammals that inhabit those areas.
And, of course, the other one is snow geese. I remember the first time I saw in a snowy field where you don't even know they're there, and then suddenly several thousand snow geese lift off from the white background.
It is a decent time to see snow geese across the Finger Lakes region. We don't have the hundreds of thousands that we will see in March as they're moving back northward, but I have seen a few thousand, 5,000 to 8,000 snow geese in the air and in some of the agricultural fields around Montezuma recently. So they haven't left yet, and if folks don't have an opportunity to see them this month or in early January, we recommend get here in March as they're returning from their wintering grounds and heading up to the Arctic tundra to breed.
You do a lot with a little. You have a lot of volunteer help. You do, obviously, the education programs we talk about, habitat restoration, invasive species removal, and it takes money to do those things. So tell us about the annual appeal and how people can help what you do at Montezuma Audubon Center.
Well, this season of giving has been tremendous for Montezuma Audubon Center, and really all throughout this year. Volunteers have stepped up in a huge way and helped us lead environmental education programs and protect the habitat that birds need today and tomorrow. And as we're going here into the end of our calendar year, we have an annual appeal process going on where if folks donate by the end of this year, they are going to support and help us launch a youth leadership program at Montezuma Audubon Center. We've done a lot with elementary school children and even pre-K students, but now we really need to focus on continuing to engage those children as they age up into middle school, high school, and even into their college years. So we're going to be offering special programs just for those middle school, high school, and college students and give them the experience, give them the skills and the knowledge that they're going to need if they want to continue a career in the conservation field. They'll be working side by side with Audubon, New York State DEC, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service staff, helping to build their resume. And at the same time, we're going to be incorporating fresh, new voices into the Audubon network, which is really, really exciting. I've already had conversations with a couple of our local school districts that are on board up in Wayne County, and a couple of our colleges here in the Finger Lakes are also on board, Hobart, William Smith colleges, as well as Cayuga Community College. So we're asking people to donate today to Montezuma Audubon Center. They can go to montezuma.audubon.org and donate to our annual appeal and help us launch this youth leadership program.
And of course, not all of our viewers might know, but you also tailor educational programs for both Scouts BSA and for Girl Scouts for specific badges and whatever a specific unit needs.
There are so many opportunities for youth to get involved in programming at Montezuma. We do all of those educational programs, those merit badges for Scouts, homeschool, and as well as school children.
We're doing still at this point, because of COVID, mostly virtual programs. On Saturday, January 8th, you have one on winter raptors of the Northeast.
And this is in partnership with Braddock Bay Raptor Research. This is a long-standing partnership that we've had. And Dana Ford is going to join us for this virtual presentation to highlight the raptors, the birds of prey, owls, eagles, hawks, falcons, that are in the Northeast United States, including here in the Finger Lakes region. And so she's going to explain the biological characteristics of these birds, what make them so unique, and how they survive during these winter months. And then also she's going to highlight where people can go to see all of these wonderful birds. The South Shore of Lake Ontario, from Braddock Bay over in the Rochester area all the way over to Oswego, is a prime corridor for these these raptors, and of course you can see them at Montezuma as well. She is also going to introduce some of her feathered friends during this virtual presentation, folks will be able to see these birds on their screens up close and personal in a virtual way. There's a small fee to support Montezuma Audubon Center and Braddock Bay Raptor Research, $10 per person and $25 per family. Folks, when they register, will get a Zoom email link after registering.
And of course, one of the most common raptors that you can see on almost any utility line is the red-tailed hawk. I still love just watching them, and they just watch over the field, and then suddenly they swoop down and get some lunch.
Red-tailed hawks were quite abundant yesterday during our Christmas bird count. We had over 50 red-tailed hawks, as well as over 50 bald eagles all across the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. So with the leaves off the trees now, it is a lot easier to find these birds of prey.
And you mentioned the eagles. That leads us to the program. Saturday, January 15th, the bald eagle back from the brink. I mean, one of the great, dare I say, conservation stories of the 20th century. I mean, the eagle, the symbol of our nation, was almost gone, and there was fear that it was going to be gone.
And this is in partnership with another program that I manage, the Onondaga Lake Conservation Corps. So I'm going to be on virtually talking about the history of the bald eagle, the population size of our national bird back in the late 1700s when bald eagle became our national symbol, and then what happened to that population as we went through the 1800s and early 1900s, the causes for the population decline, but also the success and how Montezuma was instrumental in bringing back our national bird from the brink of extinction. We were down to just one nesting pair of bald eagles in the whole state of New York, and now you can find over 50 bald eagles on a winter day in the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. As we go deeper into the winter months, we expect we'll see anywhere from 75 to maybe up to 100 bald eagles at Montezuma, as well as over at Onondaga Lake, which is another conservation success story that we've talked about in the past. So I'll be on talking to folks virtually. There's a fee for this one as well, $5 a person, $15 a family. Folks can go to ny.audubon.org/OLCC to register for this. I'll put it on our Montezuma page as well.
What year was that low point for bald eagles in New York? And was there then a tipping point where researchers said, hey, wait a minute, this is going to work, we're going to get this species back?
In the early 1970s, 1973, we were down to just that one last nesting pair of bald eagles. It was at the south end of Hemlock Lake. We had a few wintering bald eagles coming into the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, but we knew we had to do something. And so that's when we started bringing 1-month-old bald eagle chicks from healthier populations across this country, Midwest states and Maryland primarily, to Montezuma to bring the bald eagle population back here. And we were so successful here that we brought it to other parts of New York State. And then by 1989, we had 10 nesting pairs of bald eagles across New York State. The biologists thought that number was going to be enough to jumpstart bald eagles here in New York. Sure enough, they're right, because now we have well over 400 nesting pairs across New York and 15 nests just at the Montezuma Wetlands Complex alone.
Was it eliminating DDT? Was that one of the big steps?
DDT was the straw that broke the eagle's back. Habitat loss, harvesting of bald eagles, primarily for their white feathers, also brought the population down, but it was DDT after World War II. DDT was used to control insect populations across this country. Well, DDT got into the food chain, and as it worked its way up the food chain, the concentration of DDT increased, so that by the time it got to the top predator in the food chain, the bald eagle, concentrations were so great that the eggs of the bald eagles became so thin and brittle that the incubating female was cracking the eggs, and we were not getting eaglets hatching from those eggs. So that was the final straw for the bald eagle. But we banned DDT, we enacted conservation laws, we conducted this hacking program where we brought bald eagles here to Montezuma and across New York, and now the bald eagle's thriving once again.
You mentioned your work with the Onondaga Lake Conservation Corps. That's a lesser known but still pretty remarkable story. That lake was just about left for dead. Tell us a little bit about the restoration of Onondaga Lake and what the work is now going forward.
Another conservation success story in downtown Syracuse, right in the heart of an urban area in central New York. This Onondaga Lake was considered the most polluted lake in the country due to industrial pollution, but because of conservation efforts, the cleanup efforts in the lake and the surrounding wetland habitats, Audubon, along with our conservation partners such as Onondaga Audubon Society and Honeywell and so many other corporations, have pooled resources to clean up this lake. And we've helped restore 90 acres of wetlands and shoreline at Onondaga Lake, which has helped bring the bald eagles back there. Just a few years ago, we had over 100 bald eagles during the winter months. And now we can see thousands of ducks there during the winter months as well. And some of these species are threatened still with extinction here in New York. The pied-bill grebe is another breeding bird, a small duck-like marsh bird, breeds there now. Northern harrier can also be found there, and that's more of a migratory and winter bird at Onondaga Lake. So a tremendous success story. There are so many opportunities for the community to enjoy the lake now with all the recreational opportunities, the guided kayaking tours and hikes that we lead, but then folks can go to the lake and enjoy a new trail that goes about halfway around the lake now. So tremendous opportunities, tremendous success story. Audubon's been proud to be involved with that.
Remind us once again how we can support the annual appeal at the Montezuma Audubon Center.
Folks can go to montezuma.audubon.org and donate today to support the youth leadership program that we're hoping to launch. If we can just get about $1,000 more, that's what we're asking, $1,000 more to help us get over that hump and launch this new program in the new year, montezuma.audubon.org.
All right, Chris, thanks. We appreciate the time. Look forward to talking with you each month, and I look forward to our next spring or summer kayak paddle.
Thanks, Ted. Always a pleasure.
This has been Inside the FLX with Chris Lajewski with the Montezuma Audubon Center, Route 89 in Savannah. Join me tonight. I'll be at Newark High School as the Reds take on the unbeaten Penn Yan Mustangs in boys basketball here on FingerLakes1.com. We'll see you then.